Hello, Santa Clarita, and everyone listening in from around the world. This is Sharon Brubaker, and you are listening to KHTS, your hometown station, and the Grief Recovery Hour. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I have some amazing guests joining us today. But before we get to that, I'd like to reach out to all the broken hearts that are out there and let you know that I absolutely do not know what your heart feels like right now. I don't know what a broken heart feels like, but what your broken heart feels like, but I know what it feels like when a broken heart occurs, and it's not good. Today we have an amazing topic. We're talking through addictions and grief and loss. And I have with me Judy Burks. She's an amazing friend, and she's going to be sharing her story along with Bob from the Way Out Recovery. And we've met each other here through town and just really gotten to know each other. And how we're going to open the show today is we're each going to share our own personal story of addiction and how we became to realize really what got us there and working through that process. So, I don't know, Bob, would you like to start with that story?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me today. First of all, Sharon and Judy, it's very nice to meet you and be here in the studio with you. You know, when you asked me to come on the show with you, and we're going to talk about addiction and how it ties into grief. Yeah. I thought, you know, first of all, what a wonderful topic.
Right.
You know, because grief, loss, stress, God, I could go on and on, abandonment, trauma, neglect, things that people face in their lives oftentimes are the driving force behind our addictions. So I'm real excited to be here. And again, thank you for asking me to be on the show. It's funny because I came here with the perspective of, okay, I'm the addiction treatment expert, and so I'm going to take notes on what addiction and grief and how that ties in. And then I come in and Sharon says we're going to tell our stories, which is awesome.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
I think the reason we're telling our stories is because there may be somebody out there that's listening right now that they may not know that they are an addict, or they may, most importantly, they may not know that the hurt and loss that's in their heart can tie those two together. And I think that's so important that we get that across.
Well, everything that I know about my own recovery story has been an insight in retrospect. I had no idea that any of this was happening when it was happening. I think for me, my addiction and my addictive, maybe not the addiction. I think the addiction started the first time I ever did a drug, which for me was 10 years old. I started smoking marijuana when I was 10 years old. But prior to that, I think that I had been looking for something to heal the pain.
Right.
Since really the day I was born, you know? When you ask the question, like, when did it kind of click for you, or when did it start, or when did that addiction start? I think that for me it started from the day that I was aware of my own world, you know?
Right.
I was, only because I was born into a house where addiction was already present. You know, my dad's an alcoholic, an admitted alcoholic, and there was a lot of stress in that home. And so, I grew up with just very afraid. And I think I carried a lot of fear around with me. And so it's just kind of a stressed out kid all the time. And as a result of that, I had a lot of acting out behavior. You know, I would run away. I would throw tantrums. I didn't do well in school. It turned into like there was a lot of hyperactivity. I'd like bite my nails all the time and chew my cheeks and like, just kind of on all the time. And was very not even aware that was my sort of natural state all the time, you know? And so I'm walking around this kid who's just kind of topped out with stress and stuff going on in his life. And when my friend got some marijuana and we went out to this little field and smoked it for the first time, my whole world changed, and I didn't even know it was changing.
Wow.
You know, a drug came into my life, and for the first time, I think in my entire life, it instantly healed the pain.
Right.
It instantly dropped all that stuff I was walking around, and I didn't have to think about it or feel it for a very short period of time. And after that experience, I think what happened was my brain said, whatever, hey Bob,
Yeah.
whatever you just did is going to be really, really important in your life, and why don't you keep doing that, because it heals the pain.
Right.
Not knowing that later on. And so that, at 10 years old, I didn't get sober till I was 37. And in between there, it got worse and worse. And the drugs changed from marijuana to very quickly to other drugs and alcohol and every other thing. And so by the time I got sober when I was 37 years old, I was an intravenous methamphetamine user. I was drinking every day, doing any drugs that would come into my life, living in my truck, no friends left in the world. I hadn't talked to my family really in about 10 or 12 years.
Right.
In and out of jails and institutions and all this stuff that happens around drug addiction. And the very thing that I went to heal the pain for probably 20 years was creating more pain than I could ever imagine.
Right.
More
Right.
pain than I could ever imagine. And I don't know what happened other than I would call it a spiritual experience. I was sitting in a jail cell on August the 15th, 2005. That's the day before I call my sobriety date, which is August 16th. And I'm sitting in that jail cell, and I had been in jail cells before, so it wasn't a new experience for me. But it was like I couldn't, there was no place left for me to reach and find an answer. Like
Right.
I couldn't talk my way out of this one. I didn't have a plan. There was nothing left. And I had this experience where now I think that it was God talking to me. I really believe that today. But I heard this voice inside of me that said, everything's going to be okay.
Wow.
And I believed it.
Yeah.
And the next day, like, I just saw the world differently. And I'd like to say that having that awakening was what got me sober. That's what started the process.
Right.
And then doing a whole lot of work for the last almost 13 years now
Right.
has kept me sober. Those pains and those hurts and those hangups and all that stuff don't just go away.
Yeah. They don't.
know?
They absolutely don't.
And they resurface at the most inopportune moments
Yeah,
sometimes.
and they're not fun.
do.
They're definitely not. All right, Judy, you're going to give us your story.
Okay, I was not aware that I was an addict. My mother passed away, and I had went to the doctor, and I thought something was seriously wrong with me too. So I went, and they had told me that I had something bad wrong with me. So that day, they had gave me 90 hydrocodones and 90 Xanax and said, just take this because you're going to be sick for a pretty long time. And I thought, okay. So they told me what was wrong and everything. And I went home and I took the first pill and I thought, oh my goodness, this is so good. And I just kept on taking them. And then 3 a day did not work at all. So I just kept on, that makes me feel good. I just kept on taking them. I was up to taking 12 hydrocodones a day and Xanax at night. And then I realized, oh my goodness, all this pain that I had from before, I don't have to worry about it anymore. Abuse, loss, everything. So I stayed on this for 3 years. It got pretty bad. I would get up during the night. I would faint because I would be so drugged up. And like you said, I think God intervened because when I would faint, I would fall on my side and I would vomit. And if I was laying on my back, I would have aspirated and choked to death and died. God was with me all the way. It stayed with me for 3 years, and this isn't a kid's drug. I was 50 years old when this happened.
Yeah.
50, thinking I am a drug addict at 50. So one night I was just so upset. I had a boyfriend. When my drugs ran out, he would go and get a prescription, and he would get them for me. So we kept on, and then I got up to 15 drugs a night. I'd take a bottle of Coke to bed with me. If I wake up during the night, I'd take me a Xanax. I'd take me a hydrocodone. That's just how it was. And finally, I couldn't get any more. And then the withdrawals. The withdrawals are horrible. You want to kill yourself. Your skin is shaking. You're sick. You're vomiting. You're doing everything. And one day, I said, I've had enough. It took 3 years. I busted everything in my home, and what didn't break when I threw it, it broke again. So my boyfriend called my sister, in which she lived next door, and she had not a clue that I had a bad drug addiction. She thought I was really sick. And so she said, if I get you help in the morning, would you go? And I goes, yes. So 2006, I think it was November 2006, I entered a mental institution, 9 days for suicide watch and recovery of the addiction of the withdrawals. Right after that, I had a real good friend, got me right into rehab, and I was in rehab for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. I did all the work, and the work is really hard. You have to really, really work on it to be free. And so I did, and I made it. And I carry a coin in my purse as of this day when I walked out January 22nd from my counselor. And I keep up with my counselor. In fact, she knows that I was coming here today, and I wanted to let her know. But yes, this is not just a kid's drug. Anybody that is suffering from anything. And right now, I am in grief recovery with Sharon.
Yes, you are, but we're going to get on that one first. I got to tell my story.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're definitely getting into that.
I want to shout out to you. She said, my counselor knows I'm here today. I want to shout out to your counselor. I don't know her name, but great job, man. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool?
She is Awana Smith from Jonesboro, Arkansas.
There you go.
She got a shout out to
That's
her
right.
counselor.
Beautiful.
That's really
Well, it's beautiful
cool.
to have people in our lives.
It is.
know?
I don't know what I would have done. I tried to die every night taking the pills, but God just wouldn't let me. God brought me through it, and I'm here in California, and I have met
Amazing people.
amazing people
like me.
like
I'm going to
Sharon.
tell my story now. She's so cute. I love Judy. So this is going to be the first time I actually shared it publicly. I talked to you about it. I shared a lot in grief recovery, but I've never shared my story. So I am an alcoholic, and I just started calling myself that in the last year and a half or so. And what happened to me was that we were a family that always drank. And we would drink social events, and we would go around, and we'd have parties, and it was very common to drink. And I lost my first nephew, I've shared many times, 6 years ago, in 2006. Even with that, I went back to just my normal social drinking. But in 2015, my nephew, Austin Donovan, was killed in a motorcycle accident. So my second nephew was killed. And I started drinking from that event, which was my heart was absolutely broken, and it catapulted into something that I just couldn't control anymore. It started out with drinking during the funeral. Then we left the funeral. I came home and I didn't stop drinking. Then that stopping drinking turned into drinking, getting up in the morning drinking, day drinking. All the while my daughters were mentioning it to me, I kept saying, well, I'm grieving. You guys have to give me a chance. And here I am, the grief recovery specialist, right? And I know the difference. In 2016, it absolutely blew up on a Thanksgiving weekend, and that's where I reached out for help for the first time. So I know for a fact that we can reach to whatever we feel is comfortable to mask the pain, and that was my experience with it. I definitely knew I can pinpoint where it got out of hand and how it definitely affected me. Bob, what I find a lot is that a lot of people come to grief recovery and they don't realize that they're either addicts or that they're using this to mask the pain. And then next we'll share a little bit about your story, Judy, but I can't even tell you how many addicts walk through my door that either they've gotten clean, just gotten clean, or haven't even realized it yet. And so that's why I feel it's so important to make the connection between grief and loss. Just before you share on that, I want to say there's 43 known losses that we know a griever can experience. So death and divorce are the most popular, but what about a divorce or a breakup of a romantic relationship or a pet loss? or just moving or losing their job. Do you see a lot? I guess you see a lot of people coming in to your program. And first, tell us a little bit about what you do and how your program actually works. And then share with me how you guys together at the Way Out Recovery have put the connection between grief and addictions.
So we provide treatment to really three distinct populations, but they intermingle. So adolescents,
right,
for sure, adults for sure, and then the families of either the adolescents or the adults. And sometimes the work is just specifically with the families without their loved ones even being involved.
Oh, okay.
And so there can be multiple addictions going on, either with any three of those or all of those entities at once. And so that's our populations that we work with,
right,
on an outpatient level. So we see them for 2 or 3 hours, 2 or 3 times a week. And a lot of the work that we do, and I think a lot of the work in recovery, although most people don't walk in the door going, hey, I want to work at my underlying issues.
Yes, exactly.
They walk through the door going, I have a heroin problem, or
right,
I have a pill problem, or I have a whatever problem. Let's work on that. And just to sort of state to how, what a commitment. I was going to say how difficult getting out of an addiction is, and that's true. But I want to say how much effort or how much focus it's going to take for somebody to change their life is that when a person walks through and they've been masking those pains,
right,
the grief and the loss and the whatever's going on for sometimes 40 years, people have been doing this. And that's their primary tool for all the things that hurt in their life is going to be the drug. And what we're asking them to do is we're going to take away your number one coping skill.
Yes.
And now all this stuff is going to start to bubble up. And we
right,
want you to face all the things that you've been running away from for the last 3 years or 20 years or 40 years or whatever, without being able to run back to that drug. And it's like, oh my God. But here's how we do that, right? Is we're gonna let those things sort of surface as they surface, and we're gonna hold your hand and we're gonna support you.
Exactly.
We're gonna give you as much as you possibly need so that you understand that you can walk through anything.
Absolutely.
You know?
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
I'm amazed at the human capacity to, because even like your story, for instance, Sharon, is you lost your nephew and that hurts.
Yes.
And there's a lot of pain in that. And you're drinking at the time, but it's not alcoholically.
Yeah.
You're able to take that pain and work through it and carry that around, and you're not at a top out level. So a lot of people carry a lot of stuff around and they're
yes,
able to function and they're able to manage. But think about somebody who's been drinking or using for a period of time. What'd you say, 43?
yes,
They've experienced anybody, it's a progressive disease,
yes,
right? And so
right,
over time, I've probably lost 10 jobs. I've probably lost 10 meaningful relationships. Right. I probably haven't talked to my family in however long. There may have been, I know in my story, there have been people in my family that have died during my active addiction, and I didn't even know they died until 5 years later.
Right.
Because I'm not part of the family, right? So I'm experiencing all these losses building up, and I'm still on some level able to function. And then one thing, like what happened in your story, is the loss of your second nephew.
Yes.
At that point, it's like the body or the brain says, we can't take anymore.
Exactly.
We need something that's going to knock this down. And that's when your occasional drinking becomes all the time. Now it becomes the main coping skill, right?
Exactly. So I tell clients a lot, like, imagine if you walked in here and I gave you a bowl, and every day you came to my door and I just dropped one drop in there of water, a drop of water. Every day you came to my door. Eventually that bowl's going to get full. And eventually those drops are going to get too heavy. Yeah. Eventually it's going to start to tip over. That it's got to spill over to somewhere. It's the same if I give you a potato every day. Eventually you're not going to be able to carry that bowl anymore. And it can be one little thing that throws us off the top, one little thing that just makes us crumble and realize, okay, this is really too much. I really need help for that. And that's the lead in for my next story, which is how Judy came to me through grief recovery. But we're going to take a break right now. We're going to go on a little intermission. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Judy and her story and connecting her addiction to grief recovery. We want to thank you. Join us back here at KHTS, your hometown station. Thank you.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo! And who could forget 99 red baboons?
Or the African crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills. Hey, don't get too close.
And the hits keep on coming!
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard.
Ibex is back.
Harder, better, fossa stronger.
And a new track from Kendrick Lamar.
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa.
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks. Experience 6 different African habitats, including our first ever aquatic enclosure with African penguins. Only at the San Diego Zoo.
The best live theater can be found right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. The Canyon Theater Guild has been entertaining audiences for decades with top quality musicals and plays. Located on Main Street in Old Town Newhall, CTG also offers workshops for the young actor in your family. For more information, call the box office at 799-2702 or go online to canyontheater.org.
Men, are you feeling tired, stressed, or just don't have the energy you used to? Did you know this could be related to decreased testosterone levels? Luckily, there's a safe, effective solution. Weeder Prime helps support healthy testosterone levels with clinically tested key ingredients. Just 2 capsules of Weeder Prime each day can help change your mood, energy, focus, body fat, and lean muscle. Feel the way you felt 10, 20, even 30 years ago. Rediscover your Prime with Weeder Prime. To find a retailer near you, visit WeederPrime.com. That's WEIDER Prime.com.
Remember when Mom would bake cookies and you'd sneak some raw cookie dough? Raw cookie dough is the best, and now you can get safe-to-eat raw cookie dough at Doughlicious Sweets and Treats at the Westfield Town Center Mall. Doughlicious Sweets and Treats raw cookie dough comes in several flavors like birthday cake, sugar cookie, unicorn, and everyone's favorite chocolate chip. Not into the raw stuff? No worries. You can also get freshly baked cookies or buy the dough to bake yourself. Doughlicious Sweets and Treats near JCPenney's in the mall.
Hometown. Your hometown station.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Sharon Brubaker, and you're listening to the Grief Recovery Hour right here on KHTS, your hometown station. And believe it or not, we are having a very serious conversation, but we're having fun while we're talking about it, right? We're really having a great time.
Isn't it neat that when you're in the recovery process, you can laugh about some of the things that used to just like I don't even want to look at that now. Now we can kind of laugh about it.
Well, I think also we laugh about it because we've been there and we know what it's like. Not that we're making fun of it, but we've been there. And then when you come out the other side, you have to kind of look back and laugh at it a little bit to relieve the pain, right?
You do.
You kind of have to look at it a little bit. Just before the break, we were talking about connecting addictions with grief recovery, and I want to share a little bit of a story where we talk about how grief is cumulative, and it's cumulatively negative. That means that it will build upon itself. And if you absolutely don't go into your heart and complete those areas of loss and pain, that is part of the process of getting the addiction out. So Judy, I want you to go a little bit deeper into your story, but Judy came to me after a while, after being clean for many years, 12 years, and she recently got injured at work, and she's been at home. And guess what happened? All of these losses started to creep back in. And that's how we kind of met. And that's how I want to make that connection. So tell us a little bit of that story.
Yes, I was injured at work, and I have been off work for 7 months, and I've never been off work. So I got so depressed, and I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I'm crying every day. And I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I actually wanted to kill myself. I was just so tired of it. And then I started thinking, oh my goodness, I had lost twins, and that came back. Abuse had come back from a father, a husband. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't have this out of my heart, but I feel like my head is fixing to just blow off. And this is a trigger. And so I went to Sharon, and I thought, I need help. And she goes, what would make you happy? And I goes, you really want to know what would make me happy? A whole handful of hydrocodone. But it wasn't a joke, but this is just, really nothing to laugh about. But I was really, really seriously in trouble, and I just had to get help, because who knows if I would have went to a doctor or something like that, who would have known? I might have did something. But I thank God that I got with Sharon, and I'm good, and I'm still with her, and will continue, because there is a lot to work on. About 5 years ago, I had the broken heart syndrome.
Yes.
I was in church, and I thought, Lord, there's something wrong with me. I said, take me down if there is. And that was another thing. I thought I had cancer like my mother did. And the Lord took me down. And here comes the ambulance and everything, and they took me to the hospital. And they took me to emergency heart cath, and they came back. And, of course, I have 3 blockages, but the doctor said that I have what you call broken heart syndrome. Yeah. Your heart is really broken. And I had a lot of people praying for me from the church and everything. And the doctor came in 2 days later, and he goes, this is unbelievable. Your broken heart thing is you're good. It's gone. And I says, well, I have a lot of people praying for me. And I said that it's a miracle. And he goes, well, I'm going to have a conference on you, because this is the first time this has ever happened for me too. And he had a big conference on me with the broken heart syndrome. I believe my heart will get glued up, fixed, and everything by Sharon.
Absolutely will.
By Sharon, because she's working on me pretty hard 3 days a week. So, yes, my broken heart will be gone, and I feel a lot better.
Absolutely. So there is absolutely a diagnosis for a broken heart, and she was absolutely diagnosed with that. But just on the break a little bit, you and I were talking about the accidental addict and how that can come about. Can you share a little bit more of that, Bob, and how that this is a new phrase that's coming on the horizon?
So a couple of things in terms of the drug that we hear about all the time for the last 10 or 15 years especially has been opioids, different opiates. And, and Judy shared about hydrocodone is one of in the opiate family. And a lot of that, there's a lot of sort of back history on how as a country we have become very easily to prescribe. We have these, and it's, we have these miracle drugs. We have medications that'll, do wondrous things. And as a result of that, I think that as a nation, we've overprescribed a lot of things, and we really didn't do the study to see how addictive these things would be. So accidental addicts are what we have really seen in probably the last 10 years or so, where because of the addictive drugs are so readily available, and we're starting to get a hold on that in the United States. People will never have any history of addiction like yourself. There's no history of any addiction. There hasn't ever been any problems. And they will either get in a car crash or experience some emotional pain, or something will happen in a person's life and they'll go see a doctor. And the well-intentioned doctors will say, hey, we have a medication for that. Right. Here you go. It's all good. And because of, it's funny, it's interesting that even though the terminology is a little different, like everything in your work, Sharon, talks about grief and loss and pain. And in my work, the same thing, we talk about it as stressors.
Right.
So we're carrying around these stressors or these pains or these hurts or these hangups or whatever goes on. And they've been building up like that bowl that you talked about.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I may not even be aware of them. Like you just became aware recently in your recovery of, oh my God, I've got all this loss in my life, right? But prior to that, I'm carrying around all this stuff in my life. I'm not even aware of it. And so I go to this doctor or I get in that car crash, and now I'm in a spot where, I've got extra stressor because now I've got the pain, and the doctor, well-intentioned, gives me something and I take it. And the same thing that I described that happened to me at 10 years old is I put this drug in my body, same thing happens to you.
Yeah.
And I love when you were sharing your story, Judy, and I'm just amazed by you. When you were sharing your story and you took those first pills that the doctor said, I think what you said was, "Oh my God, I love this."
Yeah, this
or
feels
something
so
like this.
good,
It
right?
feels so good.
Yeah.
This is fantastic,
Me
right?
too, yeah.
That's the same thing that happened to me. And that's sort of the magic formula that has to occur for the addiction to take place. Sharon's in enough pain where she loses her other, and in that time, that what was just, simply drinking now becomes the medicine for that pain.
Yes.
Judy's in a spot where she's experiencing, goes to a doctor at a point in her life where she's experienced that stress on such a level and takes it, and that same thing happens.
Right.
Same thing as a kid. I find that pot, and the same thing happens. The same thing happens.
Absolutely.
And that's where addiction is born. But it doesn't always have to be, it doesn't always have to be a kid who started smoking pot and spent their life doing that. It can be somebody at your age who comes in and takes a pill for the first time in their life, and boom, accidental.
And so it can happen at any age as
Any
well.
age, any age.
Now, what happened for me, and this is what I teach in my class a lot, is that I would drink some alcohol and then a little bit of steam would be blown off. Like I could just get the pressure release.
Right.
Like if you picture a teapot, right? So a little bit of steam would come out and I could be, okay, I can settle for tonight. Okay. I don't have to think about these things. This pressure's relieved. But then the next morning I get up and the same thing starts happening over and over again. But then what eventually happened over time is that you feel you really realize you need more and more and more to keep that cork stuck in there so that this pressure doesn't it doesn't explode on you, basically is what happens. And so it's really amazing how we get to that point. But now looking back is when I can see it. Because we talked a little bit also earlier about how I always said, I'll never quit. I'll never quit. Like the thought of quitting was not even an option for me. I would like you to share a little bit about that, Bob, and also Judy, if you'd like to. And I also want to know is, what's the state of affairs in our area as far as, we're hearing all these opioid addictions. If you could give us a little brief update on what's going on in Santa Clarita, what are we seeing? What are some of the areas we need to look out for, and and just what population, I guess.
So what's interesting is we do a really good job of raising awareness in the Santa Clarita Valley. That hasn't always been like that, but really, certainly in the last 10 years, we talk about it.
Yeah.
We talk about it publicly. We have like heroin kills symposiums. We have all this stuff. What I think we do historically that we do sort of a poor job of is we only target one specific drug. So what we're seeing, and the reason I say that is because what we're seeing now is we're starting to see, again, more of a rise of things like Xanax and methamphetamine and cocaine, even though that never went anywhere. It was overshadowed by all the opiate use.
Okay.
Now, the opiate use hasn't gone anywhere, but here's, like I talked to the 17-year-olds who are now doing methamphetamine, and they'll say, I'm scared of heroin. We got the message. Heroin will kill you. We get it. So I'm just going to do some speed, or I'm just going to do some Xanax. And so it's interesting to see the sort of fads or transitions in drug use. And so we're seeing a lot more of the prescription medications like Xanax, the anti-anxiety, more on the rise with the younger crowd. But make no mistake about it, opiates have not gone anywhere. Fortunately, we haven't had a lot of overdose deaths this year in Santa Clarita, and I think a lot of that is because of the programs that we have and the awareness, but primarily opiate use is between the ages of 18 and 30. Right in that's probably half of any population of treatment centers between 18 and 30 years old. The younger crowd, we get a lot more marijuana use, alcohol use, Xanax use, and then older crowds, we are seeing opiate use, but primarily alcohol with over 30.
And let me ask you this. In my mind, I would never use drugs.
Right.
Because drugs were bad. That's what I was. It was just something I never went to. I just would never.
So
alcohol was accepted.
Was it an eye-opener when somebody said alcohol is a drug?
Yeah.
Okay. But you understand, I wouldn't do that. So exactly kind of what you're saying. So I guess my question to you is this. What makes a difference with a person that just do we know what the difference is between a person that absolutely won't go there or the person that limits themselves? See, in my life growing up, everybody drank alcohol, and so it was socially accepted and it was okay, right? But I would never have done drug. I can't say never. You guys, I would never say never because I never thought I would have an alcohol problem, and here I am, an alcoholic. So is there something, and is there a time limit or a time age that we can actually touch a child and basically give them a good start? I guess.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because it's actually a very small percentage, or a relatively small percentage of people who do drugs or drink that actually cross a line into addiction. And the difference between even somebody who has trouble with drugs and alcohol and somebody who's an addict is that given a sufficient enough reason,
right?
Even the person who looks like an addict, if given a sufficient enough reason, they can stop.
Right.
Or they can moderate. They have the ability to do that. And then there's a percentage, which I've seen different numbers, but it's always less than 20%, usually between 12 and 17% of active drug or alcohol users will have lifelong problems, not be able to stop, no matter what the consequences are, that fit into a category of addiction. So overall, it's a pretty small population.
Right.
Of that population right there, I think, the solution is figuring out a way to identify the kids very, very, very young who are at high risk and give them some coping skills early on. The problem with drug addiction oftentimes is by the time they walk through my door,
right,
they're in crisis and have been in crisis for maybe 10 years.
Right.
And so what we're doing in treatment is we're cleaning up a lot of the mess that was created by drugs and alcohol, and then we can start looking at what caused it in the first place.
Right.
But wouldn't it be nice to be able to get in there with the kids in the fourth grade, or even, like young kids, and start to identify the ones that need extra help in coping with their emotions.
Right.
So that their stressors don't build up. Can we identify the losses and the stuff early on and start giving them the treatment like you provide?
Exactly.
At an early age.
Absolutely.
Right? Teach them how to grieve appropriately.
How to get rid of that pain.
How to have their anger not turn into violence.
Right.
Right? And things like that. And teach those skills very, very early on.
Yeah.
Really cool. You and I went on the KHTS Sacramento trip. We got back yesterday, and one of the conversations, it was a beautiful experience for me because I got to have a lot of really meaningful conversations.
Yes.
With people like you and I we've set our lives to the pursuit of helping others.
Yes.
Right. And so I had a conversation with Amber Raskin over at SCVI Charter School, and it got into a topic of like what's the real solution so we don't see these tragic events like in Florida where kids are walking into schools with guns, and it goes back to the same thing. And she agreed that the social and emotional skills that are necessary so that I don't grow up and become the guy with the gun, right, need to be taught at a very early age. And those right there, that's how we help. Your question was, how do we help, right? That's how we help, because if you can help back there, then the stressors don't build up. And when I experience stuff like all three of us have shared, I can tap into those coping skills.
Absolutely.
I don't have to go to a drug. And if I do go to a drug, it's not such a big event that my brain goes, ooh, this is the answer to everything, because I have other answers already built in. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely. So one of the programs that I teach is When Children Grieve, and it's absolutely a program for the parents to help their young children through the grieving process. And we know for a fact that we have studied out that we're not teaching our children how to grieve, and actually a lot of times we're hiding from them during the grieving process in a major loss. Or just look at some of the little things that we say. We've pinpointed, you stop that crying, or I'm going to give you something to cry for. When emotions just are, if we allow them to just have their emotions, deal with that pain and that hurt right there in that second, then maybe, and give them the coping mechanisms for dealing with that, what a different place would we be? What a different world would we be, right?
And we even do it with fear too. Oh, there's nothing to be afraid
of.
It's okay. Well, come on, really? Stuff like that, right?
And giving them just the process. So what I'm understanding then is it's not just grief recovery. It's not just the way out recovery. It's layers of things that we need to be teaching then, even from a very young age, which is really kind of cool. And I'm going to ask you a question. I honestly don't know the answer to it. Is the Just Say No campaign, is that still out, or has something replaced it?
So, Just Say No that's a Nancy Reagan. Right?
Yes,
Nancy
yeah,
Reagan came
yeah.
up with that. So I'll tell you,
Are you too young to remember?
There are a lot of wonderful, wonderful programs out there. Are a lot of wonderful prevention programs out there. Some that are notable, like Just Say No, Scared Straight, the DARE program. There's a lot of billboards. There's in our town right now, we have a thing called Drug-Free Youth.
Okay.
In SCV. I always want to say Defiant. That's what it used to be called.
Okay.
Drug-Free Youth in SCV, right? Which is it's a peer-based. It's in high schools, junior high schools, and now I think they're talking about elementary school, where it's sort of a club on campus that promotes healthy living and not doing drugs.
Okay.
And those programs are awesome. They're wonderful. But they primarily work on the kids who are probably not going to be addicts anyway. I'm not saying that they won't help, but kids who join those kind of programs or kids who hear that message are really, or the ones that sit on the fence. That could go either way.
Right.
Like it works really, really well and probably saves a lot of lives and gets kids diverted back into the right path. But for the percentage that is in addiction, that have all the underlying issues or the lack of coping skills, there need to be more intensive, more personally focused counseling programs and things like that, and early identification of high-risk behaviors and high-risk kids so that we can provide a different kind of treatment for them. I don't think there's that many of those types of programs out there.
There's not that many out there.
Prevention is wonderful. I would never say anything bad. It's a beautiful thing, and keep doing it because it's saving lives.
Absolutely.
But there needs to be more for the population that it really, really is going to become addicts.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to leave you guys all with some hope. We want to put the message of hope, and each one of us will share our hope for you and what we think will help you identify paths to recovery. Thank you again.
If you're in danger of losing your home to foreclosure, you need an expert. Hi, I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty. I've helped hundreds of Santa Clarita residents save their homes completely for free. I've got just over 20 years experience and a loan modification success rate of over 80%. I can negotiate better terms with your bank and I can save your home from foreclosure. And again, we do this completely for free. So if you're in any danger, please call me today at 661-714-1400. That number again is 661-714-1400. I'm Rich Sherman with Alta Realty, and I'll be happy to help you save your home for free.
Why do people from all over Santa Clarita come to our spa in Canyon Country? Simple. They want the highest quality services at prices that everyone can afford. This is Rosemary from Beyond Harmony Med Spa. Read our reviews and know why we won the Ultimate Beauty Awards 2 years in a row by the readers of Elite magazine. Come and see how close we really are and experience the level of excellence that our clients have loved for the past 13 years. Go to beyondharmony.com or call 298-8008 today for a free consultation.
There are many memorable restaurants in Santa Clarita, but 3 words stand out from the crowd. Mom can cook.
Mamá puede cocinar.
Mom can cook the best Thai food on this side of the planet.
Mama fait la cuisine.
No matter what language you use, Mom can cook says it all. Thai food at its finest. All your favorite dishes and Mom's very own original specialties. Experience it on Soledad by the Canyon Country Post Office.
Mama 요리가 좋으세요?
Mom can cook.
Hi, Kirk Stinson here with Plumbing by Kirk, your hometown plumber. With another tip, close your sink drain and remove your expensive jewelry when entering the shower to avoid costly plumbing expenses. But if it does happen, shut off the water immediately and call Plumbing by Kirk.
We invite you to visit our website for free plumbing advice at plumbingbykirk.com or give us a call, 263-6519. That's 263-6519.
My dad is the best plumber ever. Plumbing by Kirk.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Hello, Santa Clarita, and everyone listening in from around the world. Welcome back. You are listening to Sharon Brubaker and the Grief Recovery Hour right here on KHTS, your hometown station. And we are discussing a very deep topic that we are having the best time with. We're discussing grief and addictions and how they absolutely tie in together and how they join one another through the pain that we know can be experienced in the loss of a broken heart. And so this has been an amazing conversation, and thank you both for being here. And Bob, I'm going to go back to you real quick. You asked me a question yesterday. We did go on an amazing trip to Sacramento with a bunch of leaders from Santa Clarita, but while we were coming back on the bus, you asked me if I look for grievers. And I thought that was a really interesting question. And I have to answer that here live. I don't absolutely look for grievers, but I feel like they find me. Right. It's really funny. I feel like they find me, or just having a simple conversation can turn into a grief conversation, which is really kind of cool. But I don't look for addicts either. Do you do that? Do you find you do that?
So I think that a lot of us, and including me, that I spent most of my life kind of going through the world and not paying attention to maybe the suffering that was going on around me, or even my own. Like, I wanted to deny it. I wanted to not look at it. My natural instinct is stay away from the pain. Whatever it takes, stay away from the pain. And so I think I kind of walked through the world not wanting to see anybody's pain. Like, let's just keep moving. Let's just keep moving. And I don't want to talk about the bad stuff, right? But now that I'm in the recovery process, and especially in working with others and opening, what we do more than anything, all of us in here, is as we meet people that are kindred spirits or fellow sufferers or whatever, is that we've opened a safe door.
Right.
That's all we do, is we open a safe door.
Yeah.
And like you said, people find me.
Yeah.
Right? And so now as I walk through the world and I'm open to that, I see it all around me, and I'm like, oh, and I just go, is there anything you want to talk about? And it comes up. Yeah. It comes up. And so it's really neat to be invested in that process now. But that's why I asked you that. Yeah. Because I almost I walk around, and whenever somebody shares their pain, I'm always kind of going, I wonder if there's drugs and alcohol involved here.
Right.
And so to ask you, do you go, where's their loss?
Where's their pain? Oh, absolutely.
Let's help them.
I think once my eyes were open to grief recovery and to the grief recovery process, I feel like everyone I meet from now on is a griever, or they have something they could grieve, And I'm like, even simple things, even things where they think they're settled in different areas of their heart, I just will share, hey, that's possibly a grieving experience for you. Not all things, but some things definitely are. When we left on our break, we said we were going to give some hope. We're going to leave a little bit of hope, and we're going to start with you, Judy. So I want you to talk to all the listeners out there that are either where you are or have been where you are, and what is your hope for them?
There is hope, because there is a lot of work out there. I didn't realize that grief recovery would help me. And like me and Bob were just talking about, I didn't do the sponsor. I didn't do the 12-step thing. I was scared. I didn't want to do any of that, because I thought, oh, no, I'm never coming back here. But then this injury came, and I got depressed and everything, and started going to Sharon. There is hope. I've been clean for 12 years now. Just get help. Just get help. If you see, reach out and just talk to somebody, and they will find you the help, because there is help. I am a better person and everything since I've been going through grief recovery. I'm getting so much better. And I just thank Sharon for everything right now. There is hope.
And she's smiling and laughing now. She's so funny. She comes in with a joke every day. She's so cute. Yeah. Bob, I want you to tap on a little bit of what you're doing at the way out, and also what is your hope for today? What can we leave any of the listeners with?
Well, I walked in here with a heavy heart. I had an interaction with somebody that just has experienced a loss of their loved one right before I came. And I said to myself, God, I'm glad I'm going to hang out with Sharon, because, it hurts, right? Yeah. And then I walk in, and I want to, my hope is this, or my offering of hope is this, is that I want to tell Judy what an amazing person you are, what an amazing experience it is to be sitting in here. Because sitting with you and hearing your story and hearing that you are working through your stuff with Sharon and you're able to stay in recovery as a result of that, that is the hope.
Yes.
That is the hope. And not everybody gets sober with the 12 steps, but everybody who remains sober must go through a process of uncovering, discovering, and discarding.
Yes.
They must go through a process of recovery. And and I think that with the pain that you have recently experienced and you finding Sharon or however that happened is the reason that you're sitting here today.
Yes.
Because that pain, if we don't clear that stuff out, we will use again. We will. I don't care what you're doing. If you don't do that process on some level, whether it's 12 steps,
so true.
Grief
so
recovery, through a church, something to get that moving, therapy, something, so that is the hope. That is hope. And for anybody listening, I want to tell you, people do recover. They absolutely do.
They do.
Change our life, and there is always hope. Make the phone call.
Make the phone call, and your life will change. And the three of us are sitting here right here as proof that it wasn't easy, and sometimes it was ugly, but we're on the other side of it, and we're here, and we're reaching out. We're reaching out, letting people know. I really want to let you know, Bob, that I appreciate that you are making the connection between grief and addiction and allowing me to come in and talk and just have those steps so that I can be a resource to anyone that's there as well, and that we're working so well together. Judy, this was so brave. For you to sit down here today, that was so brave. Thank you so much
You're welcome.
for sharing your
Thank
story.
you so much for asking me.
Bob, give us a shout out of your number right now, and I will put it in the remarks below so anyone that needs it can have it. How can they contact you?
So call us at 661-296-4444. You can go to our website and locate me as well on our website, and that is thewayoutrocoveryscv.com. So please reach out. Please reach out.
You have an amazing thing going on there. My name is Sharon Brubaker. I am the grief recovery specialist. You can reach me at SharonBrubaker.com, and I'll put my number in the remarks below. Thank you all for joining us for this amazing hour. Have a great day.